We are back for our second part of our two-parter. Babies have been checked on. Bathrooms have been used. We are in good shape.
Yeah, everyone's good to go.
Yeah, we're excited. You're listening to AM 1160, The Quest, Atlanta's Catholic radio. This is Honest to God. And when we left off, I think that we just had Sean and Carissa share their, how did you know? How did you know it was time to do this? And Sean's answer was, it seemed like a wonderful idea. Also, Carissa said I had to right then, or else we were going to be sleeping at opposite ends of some Indian service trip. Right. Great. Awesome. I love it. So AJ and Sarah, do you want to tell us? How did you know?
I'll jump in. I'll kind of caveat with one thing that we we were talking about on the break about Sean and Carissa and how we knew when they were the right fit for each other. Is we were hosting a ministry event at our place for Carissa's for the hula hoop ministry.
So it all comes back to the hula hoop.
Yeah, the circle.
I don't
of life.
have any idea what the hula hoop ministry is, and I don't want it explained. I've got all these ideas in my head, and I love
We'll
it.
keep it a mystery. Yeah. One of life's best mysteries. Yeah.
You'll have to stay tuned if you ever want to learn what the hula hoop ministry is.
On episode 727.
It's coming right up.
So for us, we realized because Sean was I was a night owl. Sean would go to bed around 9 maybe and
8:30.
8:30. And after
Me
that
too,
event,
man. I get it.
Like we realized that Sean had stayed up till like midnight.
It was 1.
And then walked Carissa to the car to help her load up all the hula hoops and other things from the ministry event. And
As you do with the hula hoop ministry, I get it.
And we were like, I think Sean and Carissa, like, there could be some chemistry there. Like, I've never seen Sean stay up this late. And so, like, we were like, that's when we knew. And
That's what we do for them, not for us.
That's
Right.
for us. And then when we met at the wedding, the funny thing is I was on a phone call while driving to the wedding with my mentor. And he was telling me the story of how he met his wife and how it was like, kind of he knew right away when he met her. And I had been going through some rocky dating experiences on Tinder and other things, but story for another time of online dating, which
We'll do a whole episode on your Tinder experience, AJ.
Which is I need another 27 minutes.
Tears and Tinder.
Tears and Tinder.
Just kidding.
It writes itself. No, I like it. Yeah.
We started a new show now. For me, like when I went to the wedding, I ended up on the way back calling my mentor and being like, I actually think I just met the one. What? She lives in Atlanta, not too far from me, and we both like the shows, like sitcom Reva. Yeah. There's got to be something here.
Reva and hula hoops. Yeah. No, I like all this.
So that's when I knew. I think it was the wedding, and I think from there it was this, I don't know, fast burn, slow burn as we continued to walk together and date towards Christ. As like we started down this path of like calling you as you were looking for a community and in the Christian faith and started coming to church with me and meeting some of like the awesome like people in the young adult community where you started to form connections and friendships with other women and were able to ask them questions.
Yeah, I took all your friends.
And took all my friends, yeah. Actually became better friends with some of them, yeah, to the tune that like they've been either in our wedding or godparents or you name it. But for us, I think it was this kind of, I knew like there was a spark off the bat. And then it just continued to grow as I think we started to journey towards Christ. And we still had our slip-ups and everything, but for me, I knew from the get-go. I don't know about if you feel the same way.
So I'm still figuring it out. No, I'm just kidding. No,
you think he might be the one, Sarah?
I think he might be. We're trending in a good direction here. Yeah. No, it may not have been right away, but I definitely knew that there was something different about him. And that there was a reason we should be talking. And so I was very open from the beginning to continue dating him. I wasn't like one and done, like, I'm not sure about it. Let's just be on our way. I actually remember at one point thinking that we were so alike, I wasn't sure if it was going to work out, but there was definitely a spark there. So I was like, okay, we can make this work.
So just to put it out there bluntly, when he asked you to marry him, why did you say yes?
Because he gave me a fake ring that lit up like a... no.
Did you really? It wasn't a real diamond the first time? You gave her like a...
It was hiding outside the church that proposed on Christmas, right? At Christmas, after Christmas Mass?
Yes. Okay, so actually, we're going to change the segment up a little bit. This is advice to any future couples.
Please.
That,
I would love it.
Maybe consider proposing with the real ring. But I will say, I always have a good story from now. It was a double surprise.
So you had the real ring hidden when you gave her the fake ring.
He did.
You just wanted to make her really mad before you made her really happy. I like that.
Definitely. But it all worked out for the best. But when I was considering converting, he was obviously an inspiration for me, but so was all the other people that I was spending time with. And then as I continued to go through it, I was like, wow, this person that I am dating is also fully in support of every area of my life that I'm being encouraged to walk towards, that is going to only better my experience here on this earth, And so to know that that is what that other person wants for you, to help each other become saints, that was something that I just couldn't deny it. That was like, how could I not want to do life with this person? And we're not without our struggles and our troubles, as a married couple. But again, we're in this together.
Yeah, and I think so many people need to hear that, right? I think we've just had our minds sort of diluted from romantic comedies and all of this stuff and we talked about this on a recent episode, that love is just this feeling, and I'm constantly going to feel these butterflies, and I'm constantly going to feel the way I felt about you when I had a crush on you and was thinking about you all the time. And I said this to a group of single guys in a recent episode. I always love my wife. I've made that decision. It's a movement of the will. And it has, a lot of times feelings are tied up with it, but I don't always like my wife, and she doesn't always like me, because we're human beings and we're broken and we're difficult. Exactly. That's we gotta check the trademark on that, but I think we can keep that in there. So okay, so you get married, right? And you're newly married, and you're the only one, AJ, who wasn't a convert, right?
Correct.
So you're all newly married, 3/4 of you are newly Catholic. What were your biggest surprises going into marriage?
Pregnant within the first 3 weeks.
Heck yeah, way to go.
Boom.
Yeah.
Thanks, Creighton. We now use Marquette.
This show is sponsored by the Marquette method of NFP.
Yes.
But aren't you glad? Wasn't it wonderful?
Oh yeah, so glad. No, I'm just kidding. Being open to life is a blessing. I never, in my previous life before becoming Catholic, was really excited about babies. I'll be honest. Like I knew at some point I might want kids. I always said 4 years of age and older, potty trained, adopted. Like I never had this like strong maternal instinct. So becoming Catholic and learning about openness to life has truly changed me as a person. Becoming a mom, especially like really unexpected and really quickly, changed me as a person, has rooted out a little bit selfishness in a lot of ways. Still so much there to uncover. But it was, wow, we're pregnant. And I literally don't know what I'm doing. I was deathly ill for a couple months, both times. So it's just extremely hard. And you're still trying to figure out getting my name changed legally and setting up our little apartment. And it was a very challenging season and beautiful, like being thrown straight into sacrificial love and being thrown straight into commitment and responsibility, and seeing the grace of God poured over that was a blessing that now we cannot imagine our life without our 2 little girls.
Well, I'm really glad you said what you said about selfishness. I had somebody, a college student, say to me the other day something along the lines of how much more difficult it must be when you're married and you have children to do all of those things that are so good for us. She said, how can you go to, you can't go to adoration as often, or it's probably harder to go to daily mass. I said, it was the exact opposite for me. As an only child, right, who loves me, loves to hear myself talk, loves my me time. It's the most like forcing me to be outward and intentional towards another person, because my wife is great. She's a fully functional human, though, who can take care of herself. And me saying, no, I need to go to mass more because this person needs to see, this little tiny human that I'm in charge of has to see how important that is to us. And now, even though I am grumpy and it's a Tuesday and it's my only day off this week or whatever it is, we got to go to mass. We got to go to adoration. Hey, we should go to confession. I know you're not old enough to go to confession, but you can sit outside and have memories of how we used to go to confession together and then go get ice cream or whatever. And it had the exact opposite impact that I think a lot of people think it's going to have. What about you guys? Big surprises?
I think the interesting thing for us is Sarah's like so easygoing, and I'm so grateful for this, is we became accidentally or without intentionally, it's something that kind of the opportunity fell in our laps of, we became new homeowners, landlords, and married within the week of each other. So it's kind of like all these life changes really quickly for us. And so I think from going, from our marriage and a beautiful wedding to our honeymoon to jumping right into this new stage of life with all these other changes was, I think, crazy. And I'm trying to think of how it was for us, because we started to renovate our place while living with our friends. And
Bless them.
Bless them, yeah.
They're not Catholic, but
Shout out
I
to
don't know,
Corrigan
they
and
might
Allie.
be saints,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They are.
Did you learn anything new about one another in doing that?
Yes, that we probably shouldn't do home renovations together.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the
We don't
important life
renovate well
lesson.
together.
You're not
Yeah.
Chip and Joanna.
Yeah,
Well,
and
she
that's
kinda looks like
okay.
Joanna.
That's
You do,
okay.
yeah.
You know, I'll take it. I'm gonna channel my inner Joanna Gaines. That was probably a big one. But you know what's funny is that's okay. It's
Right.
okay that we don't do home projects super well together. We learn that about ourselves, and I know it does. But it's just one of those things where we had to adapt, you know, and figure it out. And I think it's funny when you get married, you just like, you want things to be really great and perfect, or, you know, I don't know, at least I think I did. But that's not always the way that it is. And so if you're open to, I guess, being adaptable and moldable, your chances are probably better, you know, for success. And I think that's the same when it comes to parenthood. I still don't know what I'm doing. I am figuring it out every single day, but the Lord's grace sustains me. And, you know, we're a team here. We were, gosh, how long have we been married before we found out we were expecting?
Well, that's a good question.
About a year.
I guess, yeah.
Clarissa knows.
I know.
Yeah, close
She's good with dates.
we also followed the Creighton model, but it seemed it worked for us on this end. So sponsored by Creighton, sponsored by Marquette.
Our children are sponsored by Creighton.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
That was good.
I think that the big surprise
Can we
for
please put a link to Creighton and Marquette Methods in the show notes? Let the viewer decide.
we'll have a poll actually, which
poll.
I don't think that
We make
will
a lot
win.
of jokes about NFP,
Yes.
but we truly love it.
Well, and
Oh, yes.
I really want to dig. I want to dig into that because I liked what you said a minute ago about how it's a constant thing. It's a constant process. Not NFP necessarily. I mean that too, but the getting to know one another. I still don't fully know what it means to die to myself, but I learn a little bit more every day, and God willing, I get a little bit better every day. And some days I don't, and I go to confession and I say the same things over and over again about not being as good of a husband and not being as good of a father and all of these things, but there is growth, and there's something to the understanding of marriage that the church has, which also happens to be shared by God, which is super convenient. That you are with this person, like they are yours and you are theirs, flesh of one flesh, forever and ever, amen. So, you know, buckle up, Buttercup. It's okay. Like you can do it.
AJ is also one thing, and you can repeat it because I feel like you have the steps in order, so to speak. But one thing that AJ always mentioned to me was that like life is so distractible. You know, you have work and family and responsibilities, and then you're like, what order are you in? You know, like, is God first? Is your family second? Is work third? That was kind of, you know, because work is important, right? We're still called to use our skills and our gifts in this life, but that's so easy to take precedent when you get swamped with your responsibilities. And AJ is a part of so many different things. We could also have a segment on that, of all the things that he's doing, which are great and wonderful, and they benefit our family in so many ways. But whenever he feels like he's getting torn away from what really matters, is we try to come back and have that conversation of like faith, family, and then work. And we do that a lot because, you know, that's life.
No, absolutely. That's great. So I want to go back to NFP for a little bit, and this might be a little TMI.
Love team.
Mom, if you're listening, I apologize for sharing this with the world. My wife and I we've never practiced NFP, right? Either direction, really. We've always used the "we'll see what happens" method. And
God's family planner.
yeah, we were on. Yeah, exactly. GFP. Yeah. And we were on an every 2-year rotation there for a while. We're still waiting for number 5 to show up, and we'll see. It's been wonderful. But I am curious about your experience with it, and you seem to be a little bit of a brain trust on that, Carissa. Well, you've talked about the methods that work and the methods that haven't, and you're interested in becoming a doula. And I'm curious about that experience. Obviously, we're not looking for explicit details, but what has that experience been? Because you hear all this. Anytime you go on Catholic Answers or whatever, it's all these glitz and glamour stories of, oh, it's wonderful. It's like a honeymoon every month because whatever. And that's not true. I'm not knocking Catholic Answers. Great website. Check it out. But I think we have this like rose-colored view of NFP that isn't super accurate all the time.
Yeah.
So can you speak to that?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's a daily practice usually with NFP, and you have to observe fertile and infertile windows.
Right.
So you're constantly making a choice of like being open to life, like, and having those conversations all the time. I'll say that the positive of that is open communication with your spouse. So where you're always in communication of, is this a right timing. And then but either way, if you're still like, well, this is not like the best timing because of this or that, or trying to wait a year postpartum for medical reasons, you're still always open to God and and the miracle of life. And so it keeps that trust level really high, but then it builds trust with your spouse and builds communication with your spouse. So I think it's been really healthy for us. And we also like schedule things out because we're like, okay, this is going to be like our 2 weeks. So we're going to do like a really cool date night, or we're going to plan a trip on this time, or we like look forward to those windows of, yeah, no,
I get it. We get it.
So we like look forward to those opportunities a lot. Yes.
We're allowed to say sex on the radio.
Plan it really well. And there's other times too where we're like really in the mood, we'll just say, and we're like, hey, this is just not like the right timing for our family, and we're deciding a little bit. We feel like we have more of an objective view now with Marquette of like trying to space out our kids a little bit more, give ourselves a bit of a financial break after 2 back-to-back, and in that way, we look for other really great things to do in our relationship. How can we build intimacy without the like sexual contact right now, with like books or movies or getting to know each other? So we've grown in different ways when we're getting all heated.
I love it. I mean, I have the communication piece was so interesting. We have all these friends who do it, and you're sitting on the beach having conversation with your friends, and you're talking about like mucus viscosity and all of this. And there really is this like. The other day I was on a beach retreat, right, with a bunch of youth group kids, and I was sitting with one of the other youth ministers, actually the wife of one of the youth ministers who was there with us, and I'm sitting next to this woman who's quite pregnant, and we're just like talking about menstrual cycles. Let's just talk about your period for a little while. Sure, let's talk about what that looked like, and then when did you have sex? Like just with some person, it's pretty common conversation when you're with these people.
Cervical mucus.
Well, and I love it though because it destigmatizes things that should not be stigmatized, right?
Oh yeah,
it's so cool and it's so natural, and our bodies are designed like by God. They're really incredible.
That's awesome.
I love to talk about it.
It's great.
Also for us, it's been like awesome. I think to your point too, like with rose-colored glasses, I do think more on the positive side, the communication thing is interesting because it allows us a foundation to kind of dialogue of like, hey, how are you feeling today? Like, how are things looking? Like, are you feeling like any certain way? And like Sarah's like, I don't know if the timing's right, or like
maybe we should just watch a movie to be intimate by holding hands on the couch.
But then it gives us time to pray through, like, are we trying to control kind of our life as opposed to it's an opportunity to bring God into the conversation? And I think recently, like, we definitely prayed, right? And I don't know if we have a baby soon, we'll know it was probably from following kind of the prayer of God. And,
no, not that I know.
Do you want to announce it right now to our millions of AM radio listeners?
No, I'm just kidding. No, if y'all would be knowing before us if that was the case. So as of right now, no new babies coming. But just to add on to that, it was really funny because I realized I was trying to like consider when we have a baby, next child, around a vacation that I planned for next June. And I was doing this silently, right? I wasn't shouting from the mountaintops like, we can't have a baby then because of this. But I realized it was happening. And I was like, I think I might be trying to control this just a little too much. This is not a super, super valid reason to be
that's convicting.
Open to life or not. I'm not saying it's not warranted, like absolutely if you have things going on, but I was like that. There wasn't enough reason for us to say, hey, absolutely not, but I did realize that I definitely needed at least a year. I was like, I felt like I was gaining my own body back from having a child, feeding a child, caring for that child 24/7. You don't just sustain a baby for 9 months, you sustain them for much longer after that. Right. And then the dad comes in and helps. Yeah, 18 years, yes. So anyway, I think that there's something very valid to waiting a little bit and
But I love you saying, I love the openness of you saying that I realized I was looking at this kind of the wrong way. And that's the distinction between NFP and birth control, right? And just popping a pill every day.
Yeah. I really want to have that margarita, so we're going to wait another month, yeah.
Right. No, that's awesome. Let's flash forward a little bit. So NFP has worked or it hasn't, depending on, what you were thinking. And now you got a baby. I have my youngest right now is 4. She's starting preschool in 5 days, something like that. Oh, wow. Oh, it's awesome. And so we're
Nice.
about to, I hate to say empty nesters, but that really is kind of what it feels like. It's like nobody has to be at the house constantly all the time now. The kids are actually somewhere for a little while during the day and everything. And so when I think about a baby, I think about my 4-year-old, my big 4-year-old as a baby, because that's the babyest baby I have right now. And I forget so much about what having an infant is like. And I'm not so interested in hearing about your experience raising this infant as I am your relationship and how it's affected by raising this baby. And I think that's something, once again, rose-colored glasses, we all pretend and lie to ourselves. I mean, even after we've done it, I don't even think we realize we're lying, right? But as if it's all sunshine and butterflies. And it's not, and it's hard on a couple, and it's so good and so worth it. But from Dad's perspective, Sean, like, what was that like?
Well, I go back to, and I'll bring it into having the baby, but in our premarital counseling, the deacon who was doing our premarital counseling had a crucifix on his wall. And in the middle of premarital counseling, he would always point to it at some point, and he would look at me and he would say, "That's what love looks like. If you want to understand love, that's what love looks like." Flash forward to having a baby. AJ, you mentioned all the life changes. I had an illusion about what marriage would be. Okay, I was chaste, we waited. I thought marriage was going to be a full year practicing an FP, right, until we were ready to have the child, of having sex and going on trips and all these different things. As she mentioned, she got really sick right away. So, I mean, a few weeks into marriage, a lot of those things were out the window.
No sex.
Right.
No sex. Waking up early to go to my job and trying to help her with things. I had a new job that was putting me in a consulting role an hour and a half north of Atlanta, right after we had our first daughter, Teresa.
Oh my goodness.
And it took 2 hours to come home. Nursing was not going well for her. I was waking up, I think, around 5 a.m., and I would try to feed the baby who was not sleeping well at night. I would drive an hour and a half in traffic. I'd do my best at my job. I'd drive 2 hours home. I would come home around 7 p.m. to a wife who was dealing with a lot of depression, dealing with a lot of frustrations of being in we were at a condo, or as newlyweds. Again, we thought we had all this time to buy a house before the kid. All these things that just didn't work out. And I started with that story of the crucifix, because if I have one thing that just sustains me day in and day out when those difficult days come, we have a crucifix over our bedroom door. The first thing I do when I get out of bed in the morning is I hit my knees and I say a prayer, and it always ends with, "Lord, make me a channel of your peace and your love to others, especially to my wife and to now I say my 2 little girls," right? Because I have
That's
them
beautiful.
both.
Yeah.
And it's just a reminder to me. I mean, it's like I hear that man, like, I don't know, Yoda talking to Luke Skywalker, or, whoever, I guess it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Sorry, I'm also bad with
I trust you.
references.
Yeah,
it's like
no.
dates. But it's like I hear that voice in my head, like, that's what love looks like. And it's just that little reminder in the morning to look up and go, okay, sick wife in the bed, screaming child, didn't sleep last night, have to somehow get in a car and drive an hour and a half north to get to your job, and do your best there. And you go, well, this is what I signed up for when I became Catholic.
Right.
Truly. And you always go to the saints and you hear about the graces that they receive through really embracing this idea of love through suffering. And one of the great privileges of my life is I get to watch my wife blossom, my daughters blossom, and others around me blossom when I embrace that, right? When I'm willing to put aside my selfishness and do those things. Just do the next right thing. Just get my butt out of bed and just try to get, some formula heated up, or some, breast milk in the fridge heated up so I can feed the baby and give my wife another extra hour of sleep. I get to watch the benefit of that over time. And that's a beautiful thing.
I mean, death to self in action, right?
Yeah.
Wow,
That's great.
Sean, that
Yeah.
was
Yeah, y'all go ahead and follow that, because that was pretty phenomenal.
Ditto. No.
I was going to say, how are things now?
Great. Yeah, we have 2 toddlers now, and the second round nursing went amazing, 14 months. So just like you learn a lot, like first-time parent versus second-time parent, that confidence grows. And we have crazy days, like mostly at eating times. But We feel very blessed by the health of our kids, by the stage of life that we're in. We're very blessed by our community, just a wonderful community at St. Bridget, and moms groups and dads walking groups, and just so filled with joy, the life that we have because of the mercy of God.
Well, it is amazing how you get into that routine and what seems so impossible. And some people I know struggle in much worse ways than I have, and even worse ways than you guys did for sure. But you realize eventually it wears away that sense of selfishness that we all have, and we're not called to live for ourselves, right? Do you guys want to touch on at all your experience?
And really quickly, you guys have a bigger house now, so you're probably in a better place, right, than the
Praise be to
condo,
God,
but
yes.
and closer to the Alpharetta or St. Bridget's, as you mentioned. I think having Roland is such like a physical manifestation of like the Trinity, of like someone physically there that we have to serve each and every day. So it like
100%.
requires kind of this selflessness, or in a way to sustain him, and a reminder of like in a way of prioritizing others. Like we've named it already, of kind of like dying to self. So for us, I think it's been so amazing to us, but I think it's just a testament to how like good of a mom Sarah is, and spouse, like of kind of helping us, because I work, and then you
Good
really
job,
kind
Sarah.
of help. Yeah. So
She was awesome.
so I give all the credit to you.
Well, I'm the first to critique myself, as I think we all can be. We're our own biggest enemies. But yeah, just what AJ said. It has come with some of the most amazing and beautiful experiences I could ever ask for, and also the most challenging. They both go hand in hand. But if that's not our life here on earth and
Praise
our walk
God.
with God, what else is?
Right.
So it's all going to bless us in ways that we have yet to experience, or we are experiencing and haven't realized it yet. So
Absolutely. Y'all, that was incredible. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you
We're
for
about
having
to
us.
close out, but first I want to just go down the line real quick, and just a quick answer. If you imagine that you are a person giving advice to somebody who is just engaged, newly engaged, and you get to give them one piece of advice of what not to do between now and when they get married, or through their young adulthood, right? For they're getting married in 6 months. You're going to give them advice on what not to do between now and 2 years from now. What is it? And we've started with Sean a lot. We'll start with Sarah.
Oh man.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Sarah.
Hey, I don't know if this is going to be a good answer, because I'm the first one to answer. So you can tell me if I have to try again.
We can have producer Ben answer first if you want.
I was going to say set expectations, but don't, instead of making assumptions about maybe how life is going to be as you enter together as a married couple.
Okay. Can you say that one more time?
I set expectations instead of making assumptions.
I like that.
Or communicate expectations.
Communicate. There you go. That's probably better. Communicate expectations.
Yeah. And so for like what not to do, I think for us, we got in a really good habit of.
It's all right. We'll just
we'll flip
Yeah.
it. Like what to do. Yeah, we'll switch it up. We're changing the answer.
This is what
But it's
happens
good.
when you let Sarah go first.
So what not to do? We got in a really good rhythm of praying virtually together at night, because when we're living in separate places. When we got married, I think we struggled to kind of get into the habit of praying together. Crazy enough, that was kind of a funny thing that I remember. So what not to do is like, if you have a routine around prayer or other things leading up to marriage, like continuing that as the life changes may happen. So I think what to do is continue to create like a priority for prayer.
Awesome. That's great.
I would say don't focus so much on the wedding that you miss out on the prep for the marriage.
Awesome. That's great
Go
advice.
to a great retreat.
One up.
Go
Second.
take your pre-Cana seriously. Like make it
Amen.
fun, and like pour into the marriage. Take an NFP class. Like do really cool stuff. Don't worry. The wedding day is not the be all.
And it's over like that, and you barely remember it anyway.
We didn't even eat any of our food, so just focus on the marriage and put your
Cold
resources
crab
into that.
cakes. That's all I got to eat. Old cold crab cakes.
Gross.
Yeah, it was awful. The wedding was great. The crab cakes were not. Yeah.
We got chicken fingers at McDonald's after
Yes.
because we hadn't
That's
eaten for
awesome.
12
That's
hours.
great.
Yeah.
Best chicken fingers of my life.
Calm down.
This
Was may or may not have been a euphemism. This show also brought to you by Chicken Fingers. Sorry, Sean. Whenever you're ready.
wow, Lord have mercy.
No.
this came from reading a great book, which I'll plug here, by Greg and Lisa Popchak, if I'm pronouncing that last name correctly. We read a great book by them, and one of the things, they put phases of your marriage in there. And one of the things I remember reading, which stuck out to me, because remember, I've got the Protestant background, was don't put other ministry commitments ahead of your primary ministry commitment of your marriage and your family. And that was just such a valuable one for me, because there's so much excitement in a period of engagement. You're so ready to go out and do all the things with all the people, and you're going to start going to, you're going to join a parish and be a family and be a unit. And putting that ministry of your wife and children first. I mean, if you got nothing else out of this segment, it's a lot. It can really be a lot to step into marriage, particularly as a Catholic, when you're open to life, and allow that to come first. And the ministry commitments and the additional things that you get to do will come with time.
Yeah, your primary vocation is always to your spouse.
That book is called Holy Sex.
Holy Sex. Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes. That's great. Well, thank you guys. That was amazing. It was a great closing question. Way better than the how many cats could you take in a fight question we did.
Yeah, that one was a little iffy.
Yeah, it's all right. This one was better. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. You are listening to 1160 AM The Quest, Atlanta Catholic Radio. This is Honest to God. Thank you.